undermining the country's progress. These challenges include systemic corruption, limited transparency, and fragile institutions that cannot hold individuals and organizations accountable for their actions. Research has shown that systemic corruption in Nigeria is underpinned by social norms that perpetuate inequality and eschew horizontal accountability. In essence, our collective abdication of the social contract, our inability to recognize and uphold the rights and dignities of fellow citizens creates a fertile ground for public corruption to fester. Particularly affected by this societal failing are persons with disabilities. A study conducted by Cedar Seed Foundation and OPD in the FCT concluded that discrimination against persons with disabilities makes them highly vulnerable to corruption. It also creates significant barriers to accessing justice when they become victims of graft. The 2019 Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act constituted a significant step towards addressing this problem. The act mandates the public sector, private entities, and citizens to undertake concrete actions that enable PWDs to exercise their rights and actively participate in communal life fully. Regrettably, and we'll hear a bit more about this later when Ms. Ekaite Umor reviews the book that is going to be launched today, but regrettably, we find that several years, about 5 years now, after the enactment of the act, a considerable segment of society falls short in adhering to the ethos and provisions of this legislative milestone. We must do better. Amid these adversities, various organizations dedicated to the rights of persons with disabilities have been laboring relentlessly to effectuate a shift in Nigeria's social fabric towards greater inclusivity. Today we celebrate Inclusive Friends Association, IFA, a beacon in this ongoing struggle for equality. Although strides have been made in the last decade, the documentary we will watch today, The Forgotten Citizens, about Karamajiji, the disabled colony, and we are pleased to have representatives of the community here with us, produced by Cedar Films and directed by Amy Limor, brings into stark relief the urgency of our uncompleted mission. This film exposes the inhumane living conditions endured by the marginalized PWD community in Abuja's Karamajiji area, an issue that relevant authorities have largely overlooked. We're exceptionally privileged to be joined by distinguished Senator Ireti Hiba Kingibe, an advocate for social inclusion, who actively engages with the Karamajiji community. Her presence, please a round of applause. Her presence enriches the discourse between legislative actors, residents of Karamajiji, and the broader persons with disability community within the Federal Capital Territory. We hope today's forum provides this pivotal platform for the persons with disability community to articulate their compelling narratives. May these stories act as catalysts, compelling each of us to recommit to our duties of horizontal accountability towards persons with disability in Nigeria. Thank you and welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Nwankpa, for that wonderful speech. We will, while we recognize the presence of the board chair of IFA to come and make the next presentation, I would like to take this minute or moment for me to introduce to you Senami Ehiomohai, the event manager for this evening. Technically, she had some itches, and that's why we're standing in for her. So we will hand over this event back to her so that we can have a proper engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and a good evening to you all. Thank you so very much for being here. And thank you, Moses, for holding forth. Once again, my name is Senami Ohiomohai, and I'll just attempt to anchor this event tonight. So please bear with me, and one more time, welcome. I'd just like to welcome everyone again, and to also, with the few names I have, forgive me, but I will recognize everyone as we go along. But with the few names I have, I'd just like to acknowledge some of those who are already here with us. I'd like to say thank you very much to Bartholomew Sua for being here. Also, Senator Ireti Hiba Kingibe, thank you very much for being here, ma'am. It's so good to see you. A round of applause. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. We also have seated John Palfrey. John, good evening, and it's good to see you. Also here tonight is Ekaite Umor. Very good evening to you, Ekaite. And of course, Grace is here, Grace Jeremiah. We also have Dr. Kole Shatima. Doctor, thank you for being here. Amara Nwakpa. Thank you also for being here. So again, please forgive me, I don't have the full list of all of our very special guests, which you all are, by the way, but I promise to, as the program progresses, to acknowledge every single person here tonight. But in the meantime, can I just hear an applause for all of you for finding time to be here for this all-important event, the Forgotten Citizens, a decade of inclusion. Of course, by now you already know that it's been an amazing journey so far. But before we go any further, allow me invite Mr. Bartholomew Sua, Board Chairman, Inclusive Friends Association, IFA. A round of applause for Mr. Bartholomew as he comes. Welcome, Mr. Bartholomew. Do I have a microphone?
Thank you very much. Please, you will allow me to stand on the protocol already established by my brother who gave the first welcome, and I'll proceed. On behalf of the board, management, and staff of Inclusive Friends Association, I warmly welcome all of you to this remarkable occasion, marking the 10th anniversary of working relentlessly to promote inclusion for people with disabilities. It is an absolute pleasure and privilege to stand before you today and reflect on a decade of achievements, challenges, and the unwavering spirit of doggedness that has guided us throughout this incredible journey. 10 years ago, a determined young lady and a few passionate individuals joined hands to embark on a mission that seemed ambitious yet essential. The vision was to create a society where people with disabilities are treated with respect, dignity, and equality, where their potential is not limited by societal barriers, but instead celebrated and nurtured. Although the journey began with a few dedicated individuals, today our family has grown exponentially with volunteers, professionals, and partners who have contributed immensely to our cause. Over the past decade, IFA has initiated and implemented several groundbreaking programs that have left a lasting impact. Permit me to mention just a few. Paving the way for increased participation of people with disabilities in the cycle of elections, thereby deepening democracy. Lending its voice to the campaign against gender-based violence and especially amplifying the vulnerability of women and girls with disability. Intervention in the education of children with disabilities with pilot projects in special schools in Plateau State and the FCT. Promoting social and sexual rights and reproductive health of women and girls with disabilities. And needless to say, Inclusive Friends Association contributed significantly in the work leading to the enactment of the Disability Act of 2018, as well as the 2022 Electoral Act amendment, which reflected disability diversity. While we reflect on our journey of a decade, we look forward to a more robust engagement with our communities to push further the frontiers of inclusive development in our nation. Welcome again, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Yes, like I said before, it's been quite a journey. Moving forward now, we will be having a music rendition, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised to learn that Grace, Jerry, and her team are going to be doing this music rendition. I personally look forward to it. I didn't know that Grace is quite the musician. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me put your hands together for Grace, Jerry, and her team for a very special number, a music rendition.
The snowbound queen. I love this part where you can join us and sing. I can, I can, I can. I can, I can, I can. You can join us, come on. I can, I can, I can. Say more. I can, everybody say I can, I can, I can, I can, I can. If you believe it, I can, I can, yes, I can. You can reach it. I can, I can, I can. You can be it. I can, I can. Let me say I can, I can, I can, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. 'Cause there's no limits, no boundaries. If you believe it, say I can. Oh, 'cause there's no limit, no boundaries. If you believe it, say I
Well done. Indeed, there are no limits, no boundaries. Can I hear you say, I can? I can. I can. Yes, indeed, we all can. There are no limits and no boundaries. What a beautiful rendition. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause for Grace, Daniel, and the team. Thank you, guys. That was really soul lifting. Thank you so very much for that beautiful musical rendition. All right, we're going to move in very quickly, but before we do, I'd like to quickly acknowledge a few more people who are here with us tonight. I'd like to welcome in our midst the former Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon. A round of applause for her, please. Yes, indeed. She's always there for us. She's been a mother to many. She's been so generous with her time and her presence, always just being there. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pauline Talon. Thank you for always being here. I'd also like to welcome and appreciate the presence of Dr. Utibe Iguzo. Dr. Utibe, welcome. A round of applause for Dr. Utibe from the Center for Leadership and Strategic Development. Welcome, Dr. Iguzo. Also with us is Cynthia Mbaolu from Yaga, Africa. Hi, Cynthia. Mbamani, Cynthia, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Also with us is Lydia Ode, Chief of Party Scale Palladio. Lydia, thank you for being here and a warm welcome to you. We also have in our midst Chief Suleiman Mad Katsina, Emir of Person with Disability, Karamajiji Community, FCT. It's good to have you with us.
Director, Social Welfare, Social Development Secretariat, FCTA, Abuja. You're very warmly welcome, and it's good to have you with us tonight. All right, more recognitions and acknowledgements will come in the course of the program tonight, but at this point, I'd like to quickly invite Amy Lima to quickly come up here for a quick address. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Amy. All right. Amy Lima, as she comes. After Amy's speech, we're going to have a very short documentary on the 10 years journey so far.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you. I first of all want to thank the Yar'Adua Foundation for giving Seda the platform to share this critical story, and the amazing residents of the Karamajiji community of persons with disability for allowing us to tell your story. Thank you for trusting our vision. I would also like to thank every individual who supported us in raising funds for this project and our partners here today for your unwavering commitment to empowering the underrepresented communities that drive our advocacy. Next, I would like to thank Her Excellency, Senator Ireti Kingibe. Give her a round of applause, please. We are so grateful for your presence, and we look forward to the great work that you will do in the FCT. Tonight, we gather here to watch the pilot episode of my documentary series titled This Ability, and witness a reality that has long remained in the shadows, a story that is brewing with poignancy and urgency. There are diverse realities in Nigeria, but unfortunately, not all stories are documented. You will soon learn about the remarkable individuals who inhabit the Karan-Majiji community. Their story is not just about disability, but about the inhumane effects of corruption and the unbreakable human spirit. You will see the undeniable truth that disability does not diminish a person's worth or potential, but instead magnifies their strength. In The Forgotten Citizens, we hope to break down the walls of oppression, corruption, and discrimination that have stood for too long and silenced too many voices. We hope to spark conversations that will lead to real change, starting with this community existing in the shadows of this vibrant city. I believe we are all seated here today because we share the opinion that people with disabilities are valuable members of society, and no human being should be excluded from shelter, employment, access to health care, and quality education, or opportunities because of their disability. And finally, let us remember that for countless Nigerians with disabilities, life is a daily battle against adversity. It is a battle fought with a sheer determination to be seen, heard, included, and protected. So, approach this film with empathy and a deep curiosity. Ask yourself, what does accountability mean and look like? And how can we as a society hold ourselves accountable? The accurate measure of a society's greatness lies in how we treat our most vulnerable members, ensuring that no one is left behind. Let the screening begin, and may it catalyze the change we all aspire to see. Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you, Amy. Media team, if we're ready, is it possible that we dim the lights a little bit so that we
This colony is a patch of tightly knit shanties in rows that are only divided by streams of brackish sewage. Known to most locals as Unguwar Guragu, loosely translated as a community of disabled people, Karan-Majiji is home to over 10,000 people, most of whom are persons with disabilities, from the visually and hearing impaired to amputees and other persons with disability. This community was intended to serve as a temporary location while a permanent residence in Gwagalada was being constructed.
It is like destiny. Although I wanted to be in this position for more than 5 years, it was not until the disability community elected me to be their ruler of their community. When they agreed for me to be their leader, this is not our permanent residence. It is only a temporary until the government move us to our permanent site in Gwagwalada.
In 2008, the Nigerian government, under late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua, brought them to live here until their relocation to the permanent site. The Nigerian Senate approved a disability bill prohibiting all forms of discrimination against disability and also required all public buildings to be accessible to people with disabilities. 15 years later, the promise is yet to be fulfilled.
I was taken to the FCT minister at the time, El-Rufai. The minister then took me to Seriki of Abaji, who later crowned me. We have been here since 2008.
Even used to call him president, to be our president of disability. And you see, he make us to be united. He settled our cases. He joined the marriages. We marry each other sometimes. We married. So you see a physically challenged with an abled, and then an abled with a physically challenged, something like that. So all what he is doing, no 10 naira is being paid to him. Government didn't pay him 10 naira. It's only NGO that sometimes come and support. All what you have been seeing here is NGO. The palace is NGO. The school is NGO. The ski center there is NGO. All what you see in this community is by the support of NGOs. So we need government to do more. This place is congested for us.
After 4 state presidents and state ministers, very little has been done to improve the infrastructure of the Karamajiji community, and there is hardly any news on the completion of the permanent site.
I'm physically challenged with one leg, that is amputated. The right leg was amputated. And this comes about while I was in primary 2 in my village. Since then, it was something around 1980. They took me to a local healer who make his repairs, and at the same that time, we did a mistake, which led to my amputation of the leg. So since then, I'm living with no leg.
I was involved in an accident which resulted in my leg being amputated. This accident was destined to happen. I've been trying to get by with life, but I'm not fully enjoying life as a normal person would. Sometimes when I stand up, I feel like I have both of my legs, but then I remember and reach for my walking stick. There are certain things I could do before the accident, which I can no longer do, as I now require assistance. Some people look at us with disgust, while others sympathize with us.
With low economic protection and a negative perception in society, growing businesses or finding gainful employment is difficult and mostly impossible. This was not the life they hoped for.
I am married with 3 kids. They are all in school. We survive by begging. I live in a shack with my mother, wife, and children. I inherited it from my father. Yes, my kids are in school. I pay their school fees. I beg to pay their school fees. They attend a government school. People look at me as if I created myself. They laugh at me. I want people to stop looking at me as if I am not human. The government should help me with a small business so that I can go back home and leave the streets. The government can help me with a small business like selling cold drinks.
Even with the passing of the Discriminations Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2018, which ensures the protection of their rights. They are often ignored and not given an equal chance at survival.
You see, the community now is as large as like 520 people here, all physically challenged. And we have our children, we have our brothers and sisters that are able. The community is as large as more than 10,000 people, but the physically challenged we are 520. Both the visual impaired, the amputee, the polio affected, and even the other type of disability.
The problems are so many. Where we sleep is unimaginable. If you visit our homes, you will cry. Our houses are made up of carton and zinc. It gets flooded during the rainy season and extremely hot during the dry seasons. But we are managing, believing that this is only temporary. There are over 600 children in the community, but only about 350 are in school.
Glory be to God. We have been looking forward to getting our children into school so that they can have an education and things that we can do in the form of business. We have our handwork and the ones NGOs provided for us. We make disinfectant soap, braid hair, and the rest. All we want is for our children to have a better life, or for people to see that our children can also go abroad for education. This will make us very happy as parents.
Nearly half the children are out of school because their parents cannot afford their school fees. With the lack of employment available for persons with disability, begging is the only viable option to raise funds to send children to school. However, begging is not sustainable enough to provide stability in education.
We just see this disability bill as a dream because we have been looking for it for good 20 years, struggling for the first government to sign the bill. They gave us a commission. After signing the bill, they gave us a commission which is headed by all physically challenged. And another thing is in terms of employment, the percentage given to us should be implemented. Let physically challenged be connected in ministries, in parastatals, and in agencies, so that level of unemployment will reduce. And we also need a situation whereby scholarships should be given to our people. We need our people to be empowered. When there's empowerment, all these challenges will be sorted out.
We want education and business opportunities. We want sympathizers to empower us so that we can fend for ourselves and afford school fees. We don't like going on the streets to beg. My advice to young women is to find something to do to keep busy. We want to be in control of our lives. We are disabled, but our hearts are not. We have women who are into business, but we don't have enough capital. We need the society to empower us so that we can also help our children and they can become something in the future.
FCT minister, as our governor, should look into us and give at least, even if it is small allowances, to physically challenged. But other government in the states do give allowances to their people with disability.
After being displaced by a government who abandoned them to their fate, the individuals and families of Karamajiji continue to hope for the promise of their permanent site to be fulfilled. With the new political regime in its first year, politicians and lawmakers must remember that the votes of persons with disabilities count in getting them into office. Hopefully, this time will be different.
very well told, and a representation that just shows just the heart of the people, why inclusivity is very important, and just how much it means to people and how much it can enhance their lives. Thank you once again, Amy, for telling us that story. A round of applause. It was really interesting to watch. I'd like to just quickly, very quickly and briefly to welcome Honorable Dr. Bashiru Dawodu, Chairman, House Committee on Disabilities. I'm also told that the National Commissioner of INEC, Professor Kunle Ajayi, is also in our midst. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Honorable Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, that's the Honorable Minister of State, Police Affairs, who's ably represented here by Mrs. Eri Folawi Ola, that's the SA to the Minister of State Police Affairs, representing the Honorable Minister. Welcome, ma'am. It's good to have you in our midst. Is it just me? But because it sounds like my mic. Yeah. So, technical team, if you can help me with that, I'd really appreciate it. But can you all hear me? Oh, great. So let's move along. At this point, for a brief remark, I'd like to invite Senator Ireti Hiba Kingibe, Senator, Federal Capital Territory, for a brief remark. The senator will be joined later on by Mary Amos, who's going to have a fireside chat with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for our senator. If you voted for her like I did, welcome, ma'am. It's good to have you. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Am I to have the remarks, or somebody's coming to join me for a fireside chat? I don't understand. Remarks? Okay. Okay. One of the basis for my campaign, I campaigned in Karamajiji, and I also had certain people with disabilities who went everywhere with me. I would like to mention somebody we all call Ambassador Sani. He would pedal himself all over FCT following us, and I understand the value that people with disability bring to the table. Shortly after I became senator, just for the record, I've only been senator for just a few months, I asked my aides to look into penalty and implementation for organizations that have not implemented the Disability Act, because I find that most buildings have not implemented it. I know what we're supposed to do for organizations what the penalty is, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do about government buildings that have not been implementing it, and most of them haven't. A lot of places I go to, I talk to them about it. Now, one of the things that I was talking to Ms. Ferris about was the fact that, yes, they have created a community there, but we haven't provided them with clean water, light, or good living conditions. And that's one of the things that I hope to do. I have a development office, and one of the things in my development program is, I call it Up with Ireti, and it is a fresh wave of hope for disability inclusion. I am working on it and trying to see how, I was just talking to Madam Talon, how I was going to take the minister to Karamajiji and see if I can also make him a convert to a better life for people there. Thank you. There are also, I think, gaps and lapses in the bill. And one of the ways I think that we can address it is by working with persons with disability to see how we can get that done. Also, lobbying other lawmakers for increased budgetary allocation for persons with disability. Those are, as some young lady said, a society is judged by how they treat the people, members of the society who are less privileged. The mic. Hello? Is that better? No, this doesn't work at all. Anyway, I'm almost done. So over the next 4 years, I am going to call on the public to join hands with me in how we can improve the life of persons with disability. Thank you. It's echoing.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for her. Please have a sit. And very quickly, a fireside chat with Mary Amos. A round of applause for Mary. She tells me she has 3 questions for the senator. So over to you, Mary.
Thank you so much, distinguished senator, for that wonderful remarks. And thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We greatly appreciate that. Without wasting any much of our time, I'm just going to start with this. The community at Karamajiji expressed immense goodwill and appreciation for your involvement and interest in the community. A round of applause for the senator, please. Thank you. So how do you plan to maintain and enhance this goodwill in the years to come?
Well, I plan to maintain it by having interactive sessions with them, trying to understand what their challenges are and trying to solve it. As I always say, I am the representative of the people and hopefully will work with the minister to implement the needs of the people. They need a lot of things. One of the things I think I'm going to take there very quickly is solar lights. I have a project already where they're on ground, and they're going to be one of the communities I'm going to take the solar lights to.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad you mentioned that they need a lot of things. And that brings me to my second question on budgetary. The current budget allocations for disability and inclusion initiatives seem to fall short of the required investment to realize provisions of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Act. What steps are in place to address this?
Well, what I can think of is that I'm going to engage my colleagues in looking into how we can get increased budget allocation for persons with disability.
Thank you. We like that promise.
It's not a promise, it's a desire, and I am going to do it and hope that the other people can see the importance of this just like I do.
A round of applause, please. Okay. So my last question, quickly. When considering the agency of persons with disabilities, how do you envision their active participation and representation in government processes, including public hearings and policy formulation?
Well, I think we should, when the agency should obviously have more persons with disability in the agency, also in the public hearings. That's the only way we're going to get the true picture of it. As much as I've interacted with persons with disability, the film has also had a big impact on me. I do go to Karamajiji, but I wouldn't have gone in depth into all the nooks and crannies the way the film showed it. So having people there who are living it will actually go a long way.
Thank you so much. Just like I said, it's just a short meeting with the distinguished senator. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Also, Mary Amos and distinguished Senator Kingibe, a round of applause for her. We must say that even for the short time you've been in office, you've been a senator of the people. So thank you very much for all that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for her once more. We're going to go on very quickly to another video. Moses, you're trying to tell me something. I'm not sure what it is. Why don't you just come over? I'm told that a kite. Okay. Sorry, Moses, but we've got to get the information correctly. So Grace is going to have a very
a short intro to the video vignette. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Grace Jerry.
Thank you all so much. We're going to be watching another documentary. It's the story of IFA. IFA is also marking its 10th anniversary. We've been in existence for the past 10 years. We have impacted a lot of communities. And like you heard in the video, most of the interventions that persons with disabilities have been able to enjoy is as a result of the work of organizations like Inclusive Friends and so many other organizations out there. So enjoy.
Can we again have the lights dim? Thank you very much, media team.
IFA started as a result of my own personal experience as a survivor of a very terrible road traffic accident. It happened on the 7th of January 2002, around 8 p.m. Sustained spinal cord injury and been on the wheelchair from then till date. Becoming a person with disability for the first time was strange to me because prior to when it happened, I had never encountered anyone with a disability. I've never stumbled on any forum or any meeting for people with disabilities. So I had no idea completely. And then I became a person with a disability and didn't even know what to do, how to navigate my life. I couldn't understand why I always have to be carried onto every platform or every staircase or corridor. I started speaking to the attitudes of people towards persons with disabilities. For me, advocacy began from that period until 2010, when there was an opportunity for a woman with disability to be selected as a spokesperson for then 22 million Nigerians with disabilities. That was 2010. And it was going to be the Miss Wheelchair pageant. That was the journey for me when I knew that it was time for me to speak up on a national platform. And I went in for that pageant, became the first ever Miss Wheelchair Nigerian Queen, and advocacy began from that period till 2012 when the reign ended. And at the end of the reign, I knew that I had not even scratched the surface of advocacy because we were still pushing for the signing into law, the disability bill as at then. So together with friends, and I birthed the Inclusive Friends Association.
The Inclusive Friends Association, IFA, was born. A beacon of hope and empowerment for persons with disabilities.
So Inclusive Friends is a deliberate name to remind people every one of us need to think inclusion. Every one of us need to live inclusion. It's not something that should be taught. It's something that you should know it, to be inclusive of anyone and everyone in everything that you do.
Over the past decade, we've built a foundation of expertise and credibility within the disability community in Nigeria. Our initiatives span humanitarian aid, economic empowerment, peace, gender, democracy, and inclusive education.
I met IFA, I would say, about 10 years.
It began with strengthening access for rural special schools, STARS, improving hygiene and education for children with disabilities. Music for Toilets concert was held to mark the World Toilet Day for funding accessible facilities.
I realized that, for me to be able to get the attention of key stakeholders who were funding water sanitation and hygiene project and implementation was to come up with a concert, a music concert. Of course, I'm a recording artist, so music is just a way of getting the message across.
She was trying to provide water and also sanitation facilities in terms of toilet for the students of the School for the Blind in Gindri.
It's a benefit concert first to draw attention and awareness around the the need for children with disabilities, for persons with disabilities, to have accessible water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities.
We were given opportunity to sing, to also showcase our talent in terms of music aspect. And it was also a campaign to also let people know out there that we need good toilets.
They had a well. So you can imagine somebody who is visually impaired, then fetching water in the well. But they had done this for years.
Because of this organization, we're also able to get water in the hostel, outside the hostel, and even inside our bathroom, inside the toilet.
So our target is to bring some form of awareness to first and foremost the schools for serving children with disabilities, and the fact that they lacked water and they lacked accessible toilets.
IFA also combated gender-based violence with empowerment models by amplifying the voices of persons with disabilities in Nigeria.
My story with Inclusive Friends started around 2021, and I must tell you that that was a critical point in my life, because at the point I was still struggling with acceptance. I've always been a very reclusive person. But around 2021, I started accepting who I am and my condition. And then that was the point I put in for IFA's Amplifying Voices project.
The Amplifying Voices project was aimed at strengthening the voice and agency of young persons with disabilities.
To speak up and advocate for elimination of every form of gender and disability-based violence.
So that project really helped me to find a voice within the disability community, and also to help to project the voices of marginalized groups in society, particularly persons with disabilities.
It was our own way of, first of all, strengthening young persons with disabilities as advocates to speak up wherever and whenever they find themselves with any key stakeholder.
We've been able to not only create a network of advocates in the different states where we have worked, we have also set up task force committee.
So if you look at the platform of the interagency, we have people from the Human Rights Commission, we have FIDA, we have lawyers, we have medical doctors, we have police, we have civil society organization, we had the Ministry of Women Affairs, and it's a platform where issues of gender-based violence can be reported easily.
I came on board as a facilitator, but it will interest you to know that I learned so much about disability that the training left me transformed.
So far we have trained over 100 young persons with disabilities across the 6 geopolitical zones, and they are doing amazing work because they are interfacing with this interagency task force. They are speaking up on any platform on why there is need to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. A couple of cases have even gained justice that we can, pride with the fact that these issues are not just reported, but justice is served.
I've known Inclusive Friends Association as an organization of persons with disability and led by a woman with disability.
We're drawn to IFA because of what they represent, helping to promote inclusivity.
Yeah, I have supported the organization, particularly looking at how can they have quality research and knowledge products.
We do recognize that persons with disability are usually excluded from most spheres of life across different sectors: health, education, communication, transportation, even accessibility to buildings.
So I think in a nutshell, that research, the recommendation in which from those research has really influenced and kind of stirred the conversation on a more inclusive social protection system in Nigeria.
And I also want to mention specific results that we are celebrating. We're working with the partners in Abia State. They've been able to get the government to establish a disability commission in Abia State.
The outcome of situational analysis was used by the team at IFA to be able to push more of inclusion of people with disability in social protection program. I think after that research output, the then minister was able to allocate 10% of the Empower and other social protection programs for persons with disability.
So I think the work with IFA has helped to fill in some data requirements.
This is fundamental, and I think this has really made IFA outstanding in terms of the work they are doing.
In 2015, we transformed Nigeria's election with Access Nigeria, Disability Vote Matter, enhancing PWD's participation.
The Access Nigeria campaign is a program, that seeks to advocate for more accessible and inclusive electoral processes for persons with disability. IFA has led under this program the conduct of Nigeria's first 4 polling unit accessibility audit for persons with disabilities.
We realized that evidence-based advocacy is very important. So we conducted an evidence-based survey, a research on accessible polling unit, accessible voting materials, accessible voting processes and procedures for the community of persons with disabilities. And the first time we piloted this research, accessibility audit, was during the off-cycle election in Edo and in Ondo in 2016.
The third was in 2019, the off-cycle governorship election in Kogi State. And then the fourth was in 2021, the off-cycle governorship election in Anambra State.
Both in Edo and in Ondo in 2016, we trained close to 500 persons with disabilities, ensuring an equality between men and women. So first was to empower a person with disability to be able to gather data. And secondly was to use that data to advocate. And that was what we did.
So through this audit, IFA consistently collected statistically valid data, representative data, to show the challenges that persons with disabilities faced, during elections.
We took this evidence-based data, presented it to INEC, presented it to the National Assembly. There is need for more work if you want the community of persons with disabilities who are close to 33 million or about 33 million to come out and vote, those who are eligible to vote, then you need to address these barriers.
And this formed the basis of evidence-based advocacy that they conducted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, security agencies, and other stakeholders to ensure that persons with disabilities in Nigeria, had a better voting experience.
So we designed the first ever Braille ballot guide for the blind to use and vote themselves, those who could read and understand Braille to do it themselves. We came up with the poster from EC30E, which was a PWD poster for the deaf. This poster is designed with symbols so that when a deaf person comes to the voting, the polling unit, they are able to understand the process from just looking at this poster. And it didn't just serve the deaf community, it served everybody, both the uneducated and even the educated who probably may not even get the attention of the EOs. We're looking at that posters and we're knowing what to do. We advocated for sign language interpreters during the collation and the announcing of the results so that people can sit at the comfort of their home, people with disabilities, and follow the process. We also came up with the CVR process to ensure that there is a disaggregated data of people with disabilities who were registered voters. The need for disaggregated data is to enable INEC prepare adequately to provide these materials for the community of people with disabilities.
And we worked with Inclusive Friends to provide Braille jacket. It's a jacket that has the acronyms of political parties in Braille, in which the person who needs it inserts the ballot paper into the Braille, and such a person can vote unassisted. But for those who don't read Braille, they can still bring trusted relations on election day to assist them to vote like they have always done. But for those who can read Braille, that option is available.
So I think it's a great thing for an organization to conduct advocacy, work with the commission in designing a tool like the Braille ballot guide, and then work with the electoral body to ensure, continuous deployment of this tool for the benefit of, in the case of the Braille ballot guide, voters with visual impairments, to help them participate independently in the electoral process.
IFA has also co-initiated policy-driven advocacies, such as the Citizens' Direct Action to demand the presidential assent of the Electoral Act 2022 and the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. IFA aims to be a global hub for PWD solutions, extending our influence beyond Nigeria.
In these 10 years, you could see that IFA continues to work. And IFA is ready to work. The only way we can continue to push further and make the remarkable impact that we've made in these 10 years is when we continue with this partnership and continue to open up opportunities for more partnership.
But we want to also quickly say that the partners of IFA should not be tired, that it's a good job they are doing.
A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.
We look forward to the future where IFA is doing much more than what they're doing now.
And so for every partner working with IFA and IFA itself, it's more of a collaboration. The collective impact we want to achieve within the disability space would not come if we don't collaborate. So to all other partners, collaboration, 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 but healthy collaboration.
We welcome partnerships in finance, expertise, networks, in-kind donations, and advocacy. Join us in making a global impact.
IFA is celebrating 10. It's a decade of change. Keep it up.
Shout out to IFA at 10. Congratulations, and I look forward to the next 10 years. See you on top.
Keep breaking the barriers. Happy 10th anniversary, IFA and the Access Nigeria campaign.
To have weathered the storm in the last decade is worthy of celebration.
As we look back over the past 10 years, we see not only the progress made, but also the path that lies ahead. A path paved with hope, inclusivity, and a brighter future for persons with disabilities in Nigeria and beyond.
Our mission at MacArthur Foundation is to build a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. We've strived for that goal for more than 40 years, and I can say, since our founding, we've been a stalwart champion of people and organizations who've supported those believing in the arc of the moral universe bending toward justice. One important point about our commitment is that in 2021, we signed a pledge as a foundation called the Disability Inclusion Pledge to embark upon disability inclusion across all of our work. These steps have included engaging the disability community, developing inclusion audits and plans, and using disability inclusive language across our work. In Nigeria, where we have had a presence for almost 30 years, our current work focuses on reducing corruption by supporting Nigerian-led efforts to promote an atmosphere of accountability, transparency, and good governance. We are driving improvements in the criminal justice system, bolstering independent media and journalism, supporting a diverse and vibrant civil society, and promoting behavioral change to show that progress is possible. With our grantee partners, with whom we've built a relationship of trust, we also intend to further gender equity and social inclusion as it advances that larger anti-corruption goal. Those who are most disadvantaged feel the brunt of corruption's consequences, so we strive to pay attention to issues across gender, generation, geography, ability, faith, and ethnicity. Unlike gender, however, the disability rights agenda is nascent in Nigeria. Estimates suggest that as many as 29 million Nigerians live with some form of disability, including visual, hearing, physical, intellectual, and communication impairments, a number that is almost certainly underrepresented. Even within the disability community, according to a report we commissioned, quote, poor women with disabilities may encounter more obstacles than men with disabilities as multiple issues intersect to reinforce their vulnerability. People with disabilities are more likely to face corruption in health, education, and the social services sector. They also face corruption in the police and the judiciary. Despite the triumphant passage of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act in 2018, people with disabilities continue to be excluded from economic opportunity, with less than 1% employed in the formal sector and less than 2% having access to education. In addition, more than 96% of people with disabilities in Nigeria do not have access to the assistive devices that they deserve. It is clear that people with disabilities face significant barriers to full participation in governance, anti-corruption efforts, and many other aspects of public life. As we reflect on the election earlier this year, I would like to hear more from all of you about how we can increase our inclusion for people with disabilities, women and young people, and how we can help them get to the polls and do so safely. For example, our grantee, the Yar'Adua Foundation, in collaboration with Reboot, organizes efforts to do so through the Partners United Against Corruption platform. Women Radio FM, another grantee, held a presidential debate where candidates outlined their gender platform, and a leader in the disability community spoke about their needs and the aspirations of women with disabilities. Our visit to Nigeria this time focuses on technology and innovation. We also know that unequal access to technologies has excluded communities and people with disability from economic and social opportunity. So we ask now, how can we build and deploy technologies that are inclusive, putting the public interest first? In addition, our team is being more intentional about centering people with disability by assuring that we have representation from the disability community on the panels we host and on the committees where we hold seats, among our external advisors, and as well by supporting the Joint National Association of People with Disability, INEX Gender and Social Inclusion Department, TAF Africa, Center for Citizens with Disabilities, and Cedar Seed Foundation, among many others. We come to this work with great humility, and we stay mindful of the intersection of multiplicity of identities as we continue to ask questions. What knowledge gaps do we need to fill? How can we amplify the voices of disadvantaged communities and individuals and ensure that they help to shape strategy? And how can we enable economic and equitable opportunity without doing harm? Our team at MacArthur Foundation has a great desire for more technical assistance, which we can share. so we can learn and then work with grantees to think about how we can strengthen and socialize Jesse frameworks through trainings and convenings. We will work to identify opportunities to bridge gaps and support our grantees in making anti-corruption programming more inclusive. Finally, throughout the philanthropic sector, we have so much more to learn as we organize our collective resources to meet this moment, as we work together to create a future where all Nigerians can thrive. And we must commit to a reimagining of what's possible at this time. We prioritize your vision, your needs, and your dreams. I look forward to hearing, learning, and being inspired from each of you tonight. Congratulations again to IFA on their 10th anniversary, and thank you for including MacArthur Foundation in your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for John one more time. Thank you very much, John, for your kind felicitations. All right, so everything that has been said here tonight still boils down to the fact that more needs to be done. And it is in search of finding solution to these more that a presentation, a research has been carried out beyond legislation, a comprehensive study on Nigeria's compliance with the Disability Act. I'm going to invite Ms. Ekaite Umar. She is going to review this research paper, Beyond Legislation, a comprehensive study on Nigeria's compliance with the Disability Act. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me make her feel welcome as she reviews this research paper. And after that, there will be a public launch of the paper. So we'll expect everyone, stakeholders and friends to come forward after she's done reviewing to help present this book, this research paper, to the public. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Ekaite Umar.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. These excellencies. I'm just so excited seeing so many familiar faces, and this is just very amazing. Thank you so much for honoring us and for finding the time to be here. I see the president of MacArthur, and I recognize this, and everyone here. So, Grace Jerry, my sister, did approach me saying, I want you to review the research and launch research and maybe perhaps launch the research that they have done. And I was saying, what is it that you put together? She said, of course, they did this research on trying to see if the Disability Act is actually working. As far as I can remember, it took us about 17 years to push for this law, and it was a very interesting journey. And like I used to tell colleagues, the law itself is good, but if you don't implement it, it remains like a piece of paper hanging on the shelf. So she said she was doing this interesting research, and I said, fine, count me in. So looking at Section 29 of the Disability Act, it says 5% of employment quota for persons with disability in public institutions. As interesting as that may be, we must be ready to take up that 5%. And before you take up the 5%, there must be something that you put in place. So IFA wanted to see what is stopping the public institution, maybe government, for taking up the 5%. So they noticed that there was an existing gap, and the big gap is that it's like, I will make bold to say this, it's like ministries, agencies, and departments are not just quite ready to employ people with disabilities. Not intentional though, I am thinking this is something that we should collectively, look at. So, they wanted to know how ready and when would they be ready to actually prepare to take up the 5%. So the study itself generally sought to understand the dynamics and to the extent to which government ministries, departments and agencies are accessible to persons with disability, and to measure the level of compliance with the 5% employment quota for persons with disability. So in trying to understand this, the scope was that they had to interview or map some agencies to just understudy to see what is happening there. And they did like with 5 of them: a Federal Civil Service Commission, Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Mine and Blue Economy, National Press Center, Federal Ministry of Information, and INEC. So how did they do this? The methodology is such that they use a focus group discussion. They had conversation with those ministries. They did key informant interview, and they did some text review to actually see if the ministries were doing something or they were quite ready for people with disability in terms of employment. And they came up with some findings from the research. As it is for now, it is difficult to ascertain the level of compliance of MDAs with the 5% employment quota. This is because since 2018, when Disability Act was signed into law, there's not been any systematic recruitment into the civil service due to a stay of embargo on civil service recruitment by government. So already there's an embargo on employment, so we can't begin to say, oh, you're not recruiting people with disabilities, because, the embargo is there and affects everyone. But persons with disability are now working with MDAs, and they are recruited. Those that are working currently are those that have been recruited before 2018. So basically, persons with disability have been recruited through somewhat personalized recruitment by heads of different MDAs. So, it's like, okay, I could use my office, good office to recruit, but not that there was this open recruitment process. There's an example here where a respondent says, I remember our former chairman, one of those days when she closed from work, she was about to go home, and then she saw somebody with a disability by the entrance door. Then she was shocked. And she asked, what are you doing here? And the person said, I'm looking for a job. Immediately, she called her assistant, and she said, take these persons to the commissioner and ensure a job is given. And it was done. So we thought that was a very good thing that happened. But we wanted some kind of structured process on how this can happen. So I'm just wondering, those who were not able to show up at the door, what happened at that point in time? So IFA thought that's good enough, but it should be very structured so that even if you are not showing up at the doorpost, you should have some chance of getting employed. The research went ahead to look at the state of employment in government MDAs. And one of the findings is that it is inadequate, and there is an inadequate and incomprehensive nationwide disaggregated of data of persons with disability. So data, yes, is a problem. And that persons with disability may be employed without being effectively engaged, which negatively affects job satisfaction. This is very true because we have so many people with disabilities that have been employed, and they just give them any job to do because they just wanted to be employed. But perhaps maybe the ministry agencies or department or any private sector wouldn't have been very ready for to engage that persons with disability. that disability employment becomes a mere formality or box-ticking exercise, whereby persons with disabilities employees are assigned, just mere job or reconciliatory roles, which may not be necessary, match their skills. I mean, you could see somebody with a disability, maybe somebody's blind and a lawyer, and all you could do, not giving a job that would really match the skills. And because in those days I was told many years ago, they were telephone operators, where you would just have them because they were blind and they could navigate, know how to use the keys. So they just made them telephone operators. Meanwhile, they were lawyers and people that would have been very useful in their skills. So now we want to look at the challenges and barriers to accessible employment in the MDAs. The stay or embargo on civil service recruitment imposed by the government is one thing that is keeping people with disability from being employed. But well and above that is the issues around accessibility. So if you finally employ persons with disability, are you quite ready? Do you have accessible environment where they can work? And talking about accessibility, I want to benchmark accessibility with reasonable accommodation. And that speaks to Article 2 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So employing a person with disabilities means that you would have been ready. There would have been some kinds of audit to ensure that you have in place some kinds of policies that speaks to a reasonable accommodation, getting ready to take on people with disabilities. Some organizations want to shy away from it because they think it's expensive. But if you begin to consider the value added, you would not even think in that direction. If I unpack a little bit what I mean by reasonable accommodation, it's just making sure that you are comfortable to contribute your quota on equal basis as a non-person with disability and ensuring that you are productive. I take an example now. We all work from our laptops, and you are employed, you are given a laptop. For someone who is blind, you will need to put in maybe a speech reader, like JAWS or any other thing, that will read back to the person who is blind to be able to perform the same function as someone who is sighted using the same laptop. So you agree with me, that would be like an extra cost to the organization. So what we've been advocating recently has been not to the government now, private sector, because the people with disability will come to the table with a lot of value added, and it depends on how you see it. So in some countries there are incentives. If you employ over like 100 persons with disability in your workforce, there's some kinds of tax reduction for you. So different kinds of incentives. I'm talking to private sector, but for the government, it's fully the government's business to ensure that persons with disabilities are provided the necessary tool to work. So another issue that was found out was that the same MDs allocate support staff to persons with disability to assist them in their daily tasks. So they are not able to work independently. They need assistance to go around, which normally is not paid for. So you are just depending on someone to lead you through back and forth to be able to work. So the digitalization of the workplace of all files system will be good for persons with disability. So if we employ technology here and ensure that people with disability have access to good technology, this would also help in the workplace. So in all the audit that IFA did, the accessibility audit shows that the 5 MDAs assessed somewhat lack standard accessibility feature. And that accessibility in the 5 MDAs seem to tailored towards two dominant disability clusters, and that is physical disability and sensory disabilities. So there's some kinds of exclusion of those with invisible disabilities here. And that the facility was noticeable with clear and numerous signage, yes, and the direction to the entrance through the gate of the facility. Although they were signage and well labeled, however, the facility considerably lacked important accessibility features to effectively accommodate persons with disabilities. That will take me to as simple as a toilet. I'm just saying, if you go around many public buildings, you see that there's just a doorway to the toilet. But that doorway may not be accessible to people who are wheelchair riders because it's just a narrow way, but then again, it might not be wide enough to accommodate. I've practically seen colleagues who have left their wheelchair, crawl into the toilet, and crawl out because that just be the only option. They press and they need to use the toilet. And because the wheelchair cannot go to that narrow doorway, they are dropped it and crawling and crawl out. And that is not dignifying you. I agree with me. There are parking spaces within the facility, that's true, but the parking spaces do not meet the accessibility standard. So cars are parked closely together, which makes it difficult for a wheelchair user to navigate between cars. There are no parking bays reserved for persons with disability. Instead, the closest parking place to the entrance of the building are reserved for management staff. And persons with disability have to take and be granted permission to use the reserve areas. And there's a pathway from the parking to the building, which is at least 120 centimeter wide and 210 centimeter high. The pathway is flat, firm, non-slippery, clear, and the obstacle. And so these are just some kinds of recommendations. Broadly, a lot is still required to be done to meet the 5% employment quota for persons with disability, and the requisite modification of the public building to make them very accessible. So, this will just be the summary of the research. It's all about trying to find out, now that the law has been signed, now it's a 5%, how ready are the MDAs to employ persons with disability? And before you talk of employing persons with disability, you should be thinking of accessibility issues alongside reasonable accommodation. See, it will just be a little review I have to do. I hope I've been able to communicate and you understood what I'm saying. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. So is discussion in case of any question.
Thank you very much. I'll just like to quickly invite all of our other dignitaries to come help us with a presentation of this research paper. I'd like to invite everyone on the first row, and of course, I'd also like to invite Dr. Otive Buzo, Samson Etodo, if he's still here, of Yega Africa. I'd also like to invite Lydia Ode, if you're still here, and of course, Honorable Daodu, if he's also still here, to please come forward as we unwrap and present the research paper on Beyond Legislation, a comprehensive study on Nigeria's compliance with the Disability Act. This paper has been reviewed by Ms. Ekaite Umar. Can someone please help us move this stand forward so we can have, yes, thank you.
Before the unveiling, I want to join millions of Nigerians to congratulate Inclusive Friends Association. Congratulations for the great work you've been doing for the past 10 years, and I call on all well-meaning Nigerians to support Inclusive Friends Association. Before us here, we've just had the book reviewer. Thank you very much for reviewing the book so well. I'm sure, having watched the documentary and listened to the book reviewer, I believe all of us are touched in one way or the other to do something, however little, to support our sisters, our brothers, and our friends that find themselves in disability. On behalf of all of us gathered here to support them, I unveil this. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. This is the one. Okay. Okay. The first, there are two documents here before us. Is this the first? This is the first. Okay. The first is Beyond Legislation, a comprehensive study on Nigerians' compliance with the Disability Act. And the second one is the Inclusive Friends Strategic Plan. Congratulations. Okay, 2023 to 2027. I pray that it will be well implemented. That's our prayer. Thank you. Thank you, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much. Without wasting any more time, I'd like to ask Dr. Kale Shatima, Africa Director, MacArthur Foundation, Nigeria, for a closing remark. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Good evening, sir. Thank you. I know that between you and the most important aspect of the event, which is going to be the dinner and the award ceremony outside. For that purpose, I'm going to be very short in my statements and to say that, first of all, to thank Inclusive Friends for inviting us into their space, a space that we cherish, we appreciate, and a space that we all support for the work that Inclusive Friends does. Congratulations, Inclusive Friends, on the 10th anniversary of the organization. I remember that this participation of the foundation started from a Zoom call we had with Inclusive Friends. They approached us in terms of how are we going to participate in the conversation. And we said, well, we'll be able to give you a token support, but more importantly, we want to bring our president to participate at this event. let's coordinate our schedules and see how we can make that happen. So we are very excited, very happy that Inclusive Friends and the Yar'Adua Center are able to agree on a time frame that has provided the opportunity for the president of the MacArthur Foundation to be at this occasion. Thank you very much for all the initiative. Thank you, Yar'Adua Center, for doing what you are doing. And thank you all of you who are doing this work. Foundation like ours are able to give some financial support, but you are the people who do the hard work. And for that reason, we thank you for the work that you do. All the people who have come from, for example, our people from Karamajiji, Amy, the beautiful documentary that you provided. I think all of you are doing a great work. I want to end with a small pledge that the MacArthur Foundation will give a token support towards the launching of the book and contribute something so that more people will be able to have access to the book. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shetima. So very generous with the expression of gratitude. So we want to say a very big thank you to MacArthur Foundation as well for your contribution, for your partnership, for your support, and for just always being there. Thank you very much, Dr. Shetima, for that. So we've come to the end of one part of tonight's event. It's time for us to now move to the central atrium just outside. We'll take another 40 at the most, 30-40 minutes for awards and dinner, and then we'll call it a day. I want to just say a very big thank you to all of you for being here, and we do appreciate your time. We'll see you outside at the atrium. My name is Senami Ohiomohai. I'm glad to have been able to spend this evening with you all. A very good evening to you, and see you in a moment. Thank you.